You know and I know everything happens in South Florida. Sometimes national, even world events have a South Florida connection. Take this parking lot, for example. It used to be the place where an apartment building stood, since torn down, but two men lived there, Mohammed Atta and Marwan al-Shahi. They were the suspected pilots of two commercial airliners that flew into the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. It's been well documented, of course, but it's still alarming how many Florida connections there were. Atta lived in Coral Springs, Pompano Beach, and in this apartment building at 1818 Jackson Street in Hollywood. They kept a low profile wherever they lived, understandably, given what they were plotting. There were slip-ups, though, like when Atta was stopped in Tamarack for driving with an invalid license. Some eyebrows were raised when the terrorists trained at Florida flight schools in Venice, Daytona Beach, and Opelika. But like many people, neighbors were largely unaware they were living next door to terrorists. The location became a tourist destination for some. That all ended a few years later when the building was torn down to make way for the parking lot that I showed you. They were living here just a couple of days before 9/11, and they went to a bar just around the corner to have one last night out. A restaurant called Shuckums used to be on this side of Young Circle in Hollywood. Then manager Tony AMOS and bartender PATRICIA IDRISSI remembered serving the two terrorists, who had a lot to drink, flashed wads of cash, tipped poorly, and bragged about being pilots.
They came in, the one guy had a little bit too much to drink. At the end of the night, they were giving the bartender a hard time about paying the bill. I was upset. I said, if there's an issue with paying the bill, just tell me straight up. The guy got really, really offended, and he said, oh, I can afford to pay the bill. And he pulled out a wad of cash. He goes, I'm a pilot. I'm an airline pilot. And he threw the money down.
They were arguing, yeah. They were pretty drunk, too. They had a lot to drink. It's crazy. It's like really close to home, too close to home.
It hit close to home for a lot of people locally. Steel beams from Ground Zero and other artifacts can be found at memorials around South Florida, but many carry deeper memories.
We were able to acquire a piece of the World Trade Center. It's an I-beam from the Twin Towers that was cut away that we were able to get, and we've mounted it here as part of our memorial.
Billy was a captain with Engine 21, which is at 40th and 2nd Avenue. And he was one of the firemen who responded to the terrorist attacks on September 11th. He was in the North Tower, which is the One World Trade, the old One World Trade. The North Tower was the first tower hit, the second tower to collapse.
We have a phrase, never forget. Never forget a member. There's kids in the school system that are reading about it, hopefully, in their history. And they're being taught about what's going on. I hope that is being taught. That's part of our history. That was something that changed the face of the United States. We're Americans, and that's our role and responsibility to teach our people teach our youngsters what happened.
With another dark chapter of South Florida's dubious history, I'm Wayne ROUSTAN for the Sun Sentinel.